Is Kevin Durant destroying his legacy? Let's find out.
And there's a possibility, ironically, that Kevin Durant finds himself in the exact same situation he was trying to remove himself from back in OKC, on a roster that is overly dependent on his skill set, him clocking in 40 plus minutes a night at an advanced
Damn,
age of 30 plus years old,
40,
and doing
40
all this
plus
with the
minutes a night.
possibility of the result
Oh my
of the team
goodness.
still losing in a 7-game series. We are 15 games into the regular season, and the Nets are so far removed from where they want to be as a franchise that I honestly don't know what they can do to
Schools me.
change things around. With a
Giving
record of
up
6 and
153
9,
points
a
is
mediocre
crazy.
defense, them already firing head coach Steve Nash 7 games into the regular season, Kyrie Irving already missing games this early on into the year, and Ben Simmons looking nowhere near close to the player that he once was. The Nets might have dug
Damn,
themselves a
Giannis.
hole way too deep for them to come out of, and the one individual that will suffer the most out of this is Kevin Durant. And honestly, none of this really isn't a surprise to me at all. Not only because some of this was identifiable 8 months ago, but looking at the trajectory of the Brooklyn Nets moving forward and all of the options that are disposable to KD, I honestly don't see that many paths for the future Hall of Famer to come out in a positive light throughout this entire messy, dysfunctional, and disorganized situation.
Now, right here, just hearing what Lois saying, I agree with him. And honestly, I think Kevin Durant's career, like making long playoff runs, being a championship title contender, I think that part of his career is over. Now, I'm not going to say his career in total is over because, yes, he's still going to be averaging 25 plus points a game. Yes, he's still going to be producing at the rate that Kevin Durant is supposed to produce. But him being a title contender, him even being a playoff contender, I feel like with this Brooklyn Nets team, with their lack of defense, their inconsistency on offense, I just feel like that part of his career is done for. And I mean, when Lowe made this video, I think he said they were 15 games into the season. Right now, we're 21 games into the season. They are currently 10 and 11. They're the ninth seed in the East, but the range from the ninth seed to the 13th seed is like 1 or 2 games. Like they can lose 3 games in a row, and a team like the Bulls can win 3 games in a row, and they'll be dropped all the way down to the bottom of the seed. Wow, it's the East is so competitive now. Like I don't think 35 games is going to get you into the playoffs anymore in the East. You have to be a 40 plus win team in the East this year, I believe, to make it into the playoffs. And then probably 31s to get you into the play-in. But I'm not seeing the Brooklyn Nets being contenders for the next 4 or 5 years.
And I know I may come across as a bit hyperbolic, but please let me explain. Now, first, let's address the elephant in the room, and that is Kevin Durant doesn't want to be in Brooklyn. Now, of course, there are several
He
obvious
don't.
reasons that would help anyone come to this
He
conclusion.
don't.
Like, who in their right mind would want to spend their last few years of their primes on a team that isn't contending? And of course, there are the trade demands that were made during the offseason as well. However, what I want to point
And
out
what
is
was
why
crazy is he said he said either fire Steve Nash. He said fire Steve Nash or somebody else would trade me. They said no, we're going to stand on our ground. We're going to keep Steve Nash. And then 7 games into the season, they fire him. They should have just traded. I don't know why they did it. Well, maybe because I don't even believe that. I was going to say maybe because no other team wanted Kevin Durant, but it's Kevin Durant. I'm pretty sure you can get a decent little package for Kevin Durant. Probably get some probably get some picks back since you guys don't have many picks until I think they're in the same boat as the Lakers. They don't have picks until like 2026, 2027. So like you're not contending right now. Don't hold on to these superstar players like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving without getting anything in return from them. Because next offseason, Kevin Durant is leaving. Next offseason, Kyrie Irving is leaving. I don't know why they didn't trade them when they could have. It's mind blowing. Like it's like the pride of GMs is hurting a franchise. No way somebody's going to tell me they don't want to play for me and then that they want to be traded and I'm going to force them to be on the team. I'm going to get something back for them instead of getting nothing for them when the offseason comes around. It's mind boggling to me.
all of this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone because the same reasons why he wants out of Brooklyn are the same
Reason
reasons
he
why
wanted out
he
of
left
coaching.
OKC. See,
Mm-hmm.
back in 2017, Durant made some posts on Twitter that were very revealing and brutally honest. Now, normally I wouldn't put that much credibility on what a public figure may have said in a public forum because, of course, they have an image to uphold. However, this situation is a tad bit different because he mistakenly assumed that he was on his burner account, but sadly he wasn't, and it went up on his official verified Twitter account.
That's crazy.
So, when a Twitter user prompted the question, give me one legitimate reason for leaving OKC other than getting a championship, Kevin Durant, again believing that he's on his burner, replied, he didn't like the organization or playing for Billy Donovan. His roster wasn't that good. It was just
That's
him
crazy.
and Russ. Durant then
How do you
continues,
mistakenly
imagine
do
taking
that?
Russ off that team.
You posted
See how bad
twice.
they were? KD can't win a championship
Posted
with those
twice.
cats. And just for all these skeptics out there who may believe that he was hacked, Kevin Durant would then give a much more direct approach to this line of questioning on the All the Smoke podcast, where he gave a very clear explanation of his quorums with the organization in OKC as well as the roster.
With OKC, I play with a lot of athletes. I didn't play with a lot of skill guys, not like shooters,
Mm,
ball handlers. So after a while, my game started
mm.
to grow. I was like, I need a change. This is before the season even started. You know they're gonna sell out to stop me, meaning they're gonna leave Andre Roberson.
Anybody
leave
but
Steph.
you.
I would Anybody too. But me.
I would leave Andre Roberson too.
And it's easy for
Why
a
you
team
sitting
to
like
guard
that?
us when you got guys that.
Why is he sitting like that? What the fuck? What the fuck, Kevin? Why are you sitting like that? Put your leg down.
From the three. You know what I'm saying? So
Some long
I was
legs.
tired of playing in that
Pause.
system.
Again, very interesting, revealing.
Was it even
and
worth the pause?
Extremely honest from a player who was on a team that was a title contending unit. But now, since we know all of the complaints that.
But the thing is with him, and I feel like with that OKC team, I think that OKC team was good enough. He just didn't want to put in the work for them to be that, because that team could have worked. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like defensively that team was amazing. Offensively, they, like he said, they just had Russ and KD, but that's all you needed at the time. You didn't need 3, 4 superstars on your team to make a deep playoff run to be a title contending team. He just didn't want to take on the workload of a person like LeBron would have had to take on when he was playing for the Cavaliers, or a role that Dirk would have to take on when he went on his championship run. Like, even though Dirk did have help, I mean, I think like the second and third best player was like Jason Terry and Tyson Chandler at the, I wouldn't even say in their prime, but like he didn't want to have to take on the role as those other two guys did to win the championship. And I'm gonna be honest, he wanted an easy path, and that'll show why he went to Golden State. That'll show why he wanted to go to Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving and have James Harden on the team. Like KD, he wants to take the easy route to the championship, and that's fine. The end goal in the NBA is to win a championship, but I believe in karma, and this is Kevin Durant's karma right here. He formed that super team with the Golden State Warriors and thought he was going to form another super team with the Brooklyn Nets, and it's just not working out for him right now. And that's karma for you.
Had with
That
his
is
time
karma
in
for you.
OKC, let's write it down and see how similar it is to the situation he's in right now.
Extremely
First,
similar.
he didn't like the coach nor the front office.
Mm.
He also believed that the roster was extremely top heavy.
Mm.
Then he went into further detail, highlighting how there weren't enough skill players rather than way too many athletes on a roster.
Yep.
And even went as far as to highlight a specific player in Andre Roberson.
Bogus.
So now, if we
Bogus
compare that to the
heel.
situation out in Brooklyn,
Andre
Durant
Roberson
has
is
already been on
basically Ben
record claiming that
Simmons.
he did not want to return.
Wait, okay, let me go back to it. Andre Roberson, basically Ben Simmons. He's an athlete. He's not really a skilled player. Not well, that goes into not enough skilled players. The only other skilled player on that team is Kyrie Irving. A top heavy roster. That's another thing. It's only Kevin Durant and Kyrie, and don't like coach in front office.
Compare that to the situation.
He wanted Steve Nash fired.
Durant has already been on record claiming that he did not want to return unless Steve Nash and Sean Marks lost their jobs. So it's
That's
fair to say
crazy.
that he didn't like the coaching nor front office. It's also undeniably true that the Brooklyn Nets are one of the more top-heavy teams in the NBA, as we've seen numerous times throughout the past 2 to 3 years now.
But also, that's kind of their fault too, because they wanted to go out and get James Harden. They had depth. They had depth on this team. But he wanted to go out, or the organization, or whoever. It's Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant and Kyrie ran that team last season. They wanted to go out and they wanted to get James Harden. So they traded all of their depth for James Harden. And once again, wanted the easy way to the championship, and that didn't work.
Looks like when Kyrie Irving is not available. And when it comes to the makeup of the roster so far this year, fair enough, you could easily argue that there's more three-point shooters on this team than there was in OKC with Seth Curry and Joe Harris. However, the team is still constructed in a way in which they have to overly depend on the creation of Kevin Durant. And also you have the non-skill players like Nick Claxton and certainly Ben Simmons that will hinder any type of floor spacing that Durant needs to operate in so he can be a quality. So, ironically, you could easily make the argument that after all of these years since his time in OKC, KD has found himself right back in the exact
Damn.
same situation. But if anything, it could be worse because, unlike the Thunder, the Brooklyn Nets have been and are still one of the worst defensive units in the NBA, which definitely wasn't a problem within his time in Oklahoma City. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, Lo, all of that sounds great, but how exactly does any of this impact Kevin Durant's legacy? Well, it's pretty simple.
It
If we look
does.
back in
I
2016,
forgot that this was even the purpose of the video. It does affect his legacy. It's showing that he cannot lead a team. It's showing that he needs multiple superstars on the team to win a championship. Now, it doesn't show that he is a bad player. It doesn't show that he can't do it on his own because even in his MVP season without Russ, um, even in 2012 when they went to the finals, he was that leading person on the team. But he got tired of being that. It feels like he got tired of doing it, and he knew that route wasn't going to be the route that ultimately won him a championship. So he jumped ship, formed a super team, and tried to form another super team. Like when it's all said and done, I don't even think a lot of people are going to acknowledge his 2 rings that he won with Golden State. I don't.
was able to identify the problems with the Thunder that prevented him from playing great basketball on a great team that could result in a championship. And some of those exact same problems are identifiable
That's
with
a
the
nice
Brooklyn
move.
Nets.
I
More
like
than
those
likely, that
jerseys.
means
A
that
lot of people
Durant
didn't like
believes
those
that there
shirt
is also
jerseys.
a
I
very
like
clear
those.
ceiling of what this Nets team can accomplish. And if Durant was not able to win a championship within his time
And
in
he blew a
OKC,
3-1 lead to
he
them.
also believed
I
that the
forgot
playing
that.
style and the coaching in Oklahoma City Thunder was not good enough, too rudimentary, and he wanted something a bit more advanced to complement his
And
style
wasn't
of
he the
play
one
a
that
bit
choked?
more. If he believed all those things,
I don't
then
know.
that roster, I think everyone can agree upon, was better than what we are witnessing right now, then there's absolutely no
Look at our
way that
starting
he
lineup.
truly.
Edmund, Summer, Rosa, Neal, Joe Harris, Claxton, and me. No disrespect, but what are you expecting from that group? You expect us to win because I'm out there? Yes. For the short and simple answer, yes. We do expect you to win. And honestly, it's his fans and the media's fault. I wouldn't even say the media, but it's the fans, people saying he's top whatever all time. People saying he's top whatever in the NBA right now. It's their fault because they put him on this pedestal. They put him. They set this high level of expectation for Kevin Durant. He fails every single time, and they keep him like. How can you fail so many times and still be put up that high on the pedestal? Like once you fail, you get knocked down and knocked down and knocked down. But not for Kevin Durant. He just sticks. Like wherever he, just because he can twing, pull up, he's 7 feet taller, he can do everything a guard can do, blah, blah, blah. They always have him at this higher standard, but he is below standard every single time. And with this quote right here, it shows you he lacks that, I don't want to say it, he lacks that Mamba mentality. Because why would you say this publicly? Like he didn't even try to hide it behind a tweet. He didn't try to be nonchalant about it. Like he was so direct with this quote, and it shows that he just doesn't have that instinct in him to lead a team.
Believes that this team can compete for any deep postseason run in the near future. And to make it worse, Brooklyn can't even make any real improvements on the roster either.
It
The reason
can't.
why we know this is because with Seth Curry and Kyrie Irving coming off the books for the following year, the Nets have already committed $139 million to this team. So after they sign Kyrie, the Nets will clear $150 million committed to this roster. And
Mm.
again, that doesn't even account to what they may have to give Seth Curry to retain him. And if they don't, then once more, the roster will get worse. Now you're probably asking yourself, well, why exactly are they in so much financial disarray? And it's because of the Ben Simmons contract. Simmons this year is making $35 million. The following year, he's making roughly $38 million. And then in the last year of his contract, he is
Wow.
clearing 40 M's for a player
What?
that is playing nowhere near to the same level as other players in the league who are getting paid relatively the same,
Or
such as Devin
less.
Booker, Pascal Siakam, Zach LaVine, Trae Young, and
Don't talk
Luka
about Zach
Doncic,
LaVine.
just to name a
Nigga
few.
been
So the
playing
level
kind
of
of
financial
buns this
commitment that
season.
the Nets are going to have to see within just 3 players with Kyrie, KD, and Simmons, it is very clear that this franchise has already met its threshold with the type of talent that it could acquire to potentially make them better. So yeah, Brooklyn is a mess.
Brooklyn
Kevin
is a
Durant is
mess.
the only player on this team who has the ability to consistently carry them to compete for regular season wins. Right now, he's 34 years old, clocking in 37 minutes a game, trying to compete with a team that on any given night is so poorly defensively that they can allow the opposing team's best player to have a career night against them. And even when Kyrie does come back and play, there's so many holes on the team offensively, especially with players such as Ben Simmons and Nick Claxton, that at best the Brooklyn Nets are going to hover around being an average offensive ball club, which all amounts to a team that more than likely will be struggling to make a playoff appearance yet again, let alone competing for a deep postseason run, and certainly are far removed from competing for a championship, which is not only unfortunate, but is literally the worst case scenario for KD. Because as we all know, KD is one of the greatest players who ever touched a basketball, a resume so luxurious that he can easily make the argument that he is one of the top 20 players the association has ever seen. And because of that status that he upholds within NBA history, the only way that he can continue to climb the ladder into all-time greatness is by winning championships. And if he's not able to do that with this roster, then there's nothing more that he can really and truly add to his resume that will be the difference maker. Now, some of you may be saying, well, adding something to his resume may be out the question, but at the end of the day, he's at least a top 20 player of all time, and that's good enough. And quite honestly, that is true. But I would argue that that might not be it, because even though, yes, it may be true, the days of adding to his legacy might be over. However, what I believe will start to happen is that people will begin to take away and belittle all the things that he's accomplished through his career. And unfortunately, he's already taken the first step in that direction. That first step was the Golden State Warriors winning a championship
Without
last
him.
year. Honestly, I don't think I have to go into that much details about this. Not only is Golden State winning a championship, reestablishing who they are as a dynasty, but it irrefutably proves that they could win a championship with or without KD. Furthermore, in the process of doing so, not only did Curry play great and the Warriors end up beating the same team that knocked out Kevin Durant in the first round, but also KD's replacement was Andrew Wiggins, the same player who was viewed as overpaid, a bust, and did not contribute to winning basketball, to not only an all-star last year, but arguably the second best player on the championship caliber roster. Further proving that the Warriors not only didn't need KD, but it shows the wonders of what that roster, what that organization, and what that system can do for anyone. And then the final step to Durant's worst nightmare is the idea of him potentially leaving Brooklyn. Because let's just be honest, KD being
He's gonna have to
3-1
leave.
against the Golden State
He's gonna
Warriors
have to leave.
and blowing that opportunity, then leaving that ball club to join the Warriors, in the process complaining about the organization and his teammates and how poorly constructed the roster was around him, just for him to then turn around 3 years later and leave the Golden State Warriors to try to establish something on his own in Brooklyn. Bro, if Kevin Durant fails in his
He
manner
said,
and tries
bro,
to join another roster to try to seek more success, it's going to be a really, really bad look, especially if he joins a team with an established star on the roster. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Please let me know what you think about the video in the comments.
Once again, another great video from the one and only Legend of Winning, aka Low. Do I think he's destroying his legacy? Not really. I mean, like Lo said, he's already cemented himself as one of the top 20 players of all time. Blah blah blah. But what I think Kevin Durant is changing or has changed the scope of players staying loyal to their team. And I'm only saying this because we're seeing like he got so much backlash for when he left the Thunder to go play with Golden State that I don't feel like any other player from now until the end of time probably would want to do that. Probably not to the end of time, or at least for the next couple of generations, that won't happen. Like, and we're seeing it already. You're not seeing Damian Lillard leave the Portland Trailblazers. You're not seeing Bradley Beal leave the Washington Wizards. I don't feel like you're going to see future superstars like Luca leaving the Mavericks. Josh not going to leave Memphis. Devin Booker's not going to leave Phoenix. I feel like what Kevin Durant did kind of made players want to be more loyal to their organization, which is crazy. But it that it that's what's happening. People don't want their legacy to be kind of shunned on because they left and went and formed the super team. They would rather lose every single year, but be 20 plus years strong with that organization and having them be like, okay, even though they didn't win a chip, they got so and so many MVPs. They scored this many points. They had this many assists. They led them at least to the finals a couple of times. Did they win? No, but at least they made the finals. They would rather have that on their resume than have them go and join a super team or join another team to win a championship, unless it's via trade. Unless it's via trade, because Donovan Mitchell, I don't think nobody's going to look at Donovan Mitchell any differently if he wins a championship with the Cleveland Cavaliers rather than the Utah Jazz since he was traded. But I just feel like Kevin Durant has kind of made it more of an abnormal thing to leave to go play with another organization. And the big question I want to ask, does this how does this affect LeBron's legacy? That's the question I want to ask. How does Kevin Durant's legacy affect LeBron's legacy? Because people are already, like I just said, it's going to be a lot of people staying with their organizations. Now, are people going to come back and look at LeBron James and say, well, he left so and so to win this, and then he left again to do this, and then he left again to go with the Lakers and win a championship? I don't think so, but that'll be pretty interesting because that's already something that people try to hold on to kind of discredit what LeBron did. He left to go to the Miami Heat to form a super team. Then he only went back to Cleveland when they were able to form a super team. And then he went to the Lakers to play with arguably the best power forward in the NBA to form a super team. That's 3 times that LeBron has done it. Now, are people going to go back and look at it like, why were we giving Kevin Durant so much hate and not LeBron? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I personally, I don't care. I feel like LeBron will always be in the conversation, top 2, top 3 of all time, no matter no matter what. But later on down this generation, once our children and our children's children start to see that players aren't leaving their teams to go jump on another team to form a super team, they're gonna start looking back like, damn, LeBron was on 3 different teams. How is he in the GOAT conversation if he jumped from team to team and Michael Jordan didn't jump team for team? Or even John Morant didn't jump team for who knows? Who knows? I'm just saying. I hope that's not the case, but it may be. But I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.